Fatherlessness is the cancer that has been known to be what is fundamentally wrong with the body of the black community, but somehow it has managed to camouflage itself as the norm and be accepted. Fathers run away from their kids, and when they don't, the mothers actually make sure that they run from their kids. According to data from Stats SA, only 31.7% of black kids live with their biological fathers compared to their Indian or white and Asian counterparts, where over 80% of kids from these groups grow up with their fathers in the home. Now, you see, ladies and gentlemen, it is not racism. It is not the white man in the sky. We have to address the issue within our community: fatherlessness. According to Professor Letlhokwa George Mpedi, the Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University of Johannesburg, 6 things happen when kids grow up in fatherless homes. First on the list, the children tend to be poorer. Second on the list, there is a greater risk of alcohol and drug abuse. Third on the list, behavioral problems linked to negative health in terms of emotions and physicality. Fourth on the list, educational achievement tends to get impacted. IQ levels, they drop. Fifth on the list, there is a greater risk of delinquency and degeneracy. In Twitter, it's just tsotsi. You know what? Sixth on the list, which breaks my heart, sexual activity and teenage pregnancy is more prevalent in the lives of the youth, where the fathers are just not in the house. Folks, the following video of Thomas Sowell makes the case that fatherlessness is even way negative and toxic in the black community compared to unemployment, poverty, or racism.
Now, there's a whole literature on all the bad things that happen to kids who are raised by single parents, whether they are black or white, American or British. The studies show the same things. One study said that fatherlessness has a bigger effect than even race and poverty. And certainly I think back in my own life, I realized how fortunate I was, because even though my biological father died before I was born, I was adopted. I was adopted into a family where I was the only child in a family of 4 adults. And these were not people who were out having an active social life someplace. The life was there in the home.
They gave you their time.
Yes, yes. And I remember years later when I became a parent, and like other new parents, I wanted to know, when is a kid supposed to do this, when he's supposed to do that.
And
I said, how old was I when I started to walk? And the lone surviving member of the family that raised me said, Tommy, nobody knows when you could walk. Somebody was always carrying you.
But so you had 4 adults doting on you.
Yes. And that's what, and then part of the rise of blacks before was because of things that were done by blacks. Example that I think of a lot was a kid who grew up in Harlem at the same time I did. We were in the same school, lived 2 blocks from me. And we met many years later by accident on a street in San Francisco, and we talked about the old times. And one of the things he mentioned to me, that because he had gone on, he was making more money than I was, and he would become wealthy, and he lived overseas with servants, and he came back and moved out to the wine country and all that stuff. But one of the things that struck me, he said that he could remember times when he was growing up, when his father would sit at the dinner table watching the children eat and not eat anything himself. Now, it's not, that's what.
And now the father isn't even there.
Yes, that's right.
This following video I'm about to play for you is from Larry Elder. He's a political commentator in America, and he breaks it down. Give this guy a listen.
As between the presence of white racism and the absence of black fathers, I asked him, which poses the bigger threat to the black community? Without missing a beat, he said, the absence of black fathers. It was President Barack Obama who said, we all know these statistics, that children who grow up without a father are 5 times more likely to live in poverty and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in prison. The Journal of Research on Adolescence confirms that even after controlling for varying levels of household income, kids in father-absent homes are more likely to end up in jail. And kids who never had a father in the house are the most likely to wind up behind bars.
Folks, all I can say to you is fatherlessness is a cancer that has convinced its host that a headache is much more deadly. So how did we get here? Where 70% of black kids live without their biological fathers in South Africa. First on the list, I will blame child grants and child support. These have replaced the role of the father in the house. It is almost as if in the black community, the females have married the state and they are saying, down with the black man, down. Second on the list, cultural message of women empowerment. Now we agree there is nothing wrong with empowering the females in South Africa. In fact, it is a good thing. However, doing it at the expense of the young black men in South Africa sends a message that the young black men in South Africa are not worth a dime. The only people that need opportunities and that need to be protected are the females. And to that, I think that is fundamentally wrong. Third and last on the list is divorce and custody laws in South Africa that favor women at the expense of men. Women are much more likely to get benefits and advantages when living a marriage. So it is almost as if they become rich and their lives become elevated when they take from a man and the custody only belongs to them for the kid. Other people could argue otherwise, but I think that is what is contributing to fatherlessness in South Africa. Other people would want to say colonialism, apartheid, and we can sit down and have those types of discussions. But where I am from in the township, I've seen this with both my eyes, where the fathers live a couple of blocks away from the kid and they are just not involved in the house. Do you blame apartheid for it? Where the father is just a couple of blocks away from the kid, the mother is not interested in the kid's life. They are not doing anything to ensure that the child develops. Do you still blame apartheid for that? Because this story is prevalent in our communities, especially our black communities.
Just go around and find any boy that comes from there and you ask them, who's your father? Say, my father is so and so. I don't know my father. My father gave birth to myself and 2 siblings. And he had also another wife with another family. And he went to Johannesburg. He went in the mine and never came back. And we grow up, we have to fend for ourselves and figure out how to navigate this life. And while on that, you also get who comes and when the father dies, and make your mama pregnant and forget about these children of his brother. And so when this boy grow up, they grow up not knowing what to do, and they get recruited. They get recruited and they end up committing crime. So that's what we've seen most of the time, people, when we analyze our crime. So what we see happening in our crime, it is because of somewhere where we are not fixing a problem. We are dealing with the the outcomes. We're not analyzing the root causes of why people do what they do. We have to go back into that. And
ladies and gentlemen, if you like my content, please hit the sub button, hit the like button, open your notifications so that you are notified every time that we upload a new video. We the people see the truth. I'm out of here.